in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is a pilot. Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have got to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just look for Barb on all of the other podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of your largest assets, your home. Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, good morning, Richard. I'm excited today because we've got some things I haven't covered before and a few things I have, but we're just have a new twist on them. So the first one is, when is the best time to sell a house? There's a lot of people that kind of worry about timing the market. Do I wait for the summer? Do I do it now? Is the winter a bad time? And we sell homes year round. I was looking at the statistics this morning. The number of available homes is actually relatively flat as compared to last month. And the sales are definitely down, but not in my world. So it's all about the decisions that the seller makes as far as pricing, promoting, picking the right agent, and making sure that the property is showing up good online, because that is your first showing. So we'll talk about timing in the first segment. The second segment, we're going to talk about different ways where you can net more money when you sell your home. And then the third topic is about choosing a real estate agent. I just took over a listing from another agent, and they really didn't get any traction with that one. So they decided to make a change. And the house did not change, neither did the price, but the marketing changed. And we got a contract in that home in about a week, full price. So what's the difference? The difference is, if it doesn't present well online, the people that would be the buyers are passing it on. So that's why picking the right real estate agent to make sure that gets done properly is really important. And then we're going to talk about, the very last segment is about the home selling process. So people don't sell homes every day. It's not that fun of a process to go through. It can be fun, but in general, it's a big project. And excuse me, it's a big project, and many people want to know what's normal and what's not normal and what they can anticipate. So we're going to talk about the steps and kind of demystifying selling a home. It's not as simple as going down to CarMax and basically saying, give me a check, I want to sell my car. It takes some time, and there's a lot of landmines as you go through it. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
The real estate spring market, Barb, as the real estate spring market is set up, how many home sellers worry? Gosh, dang it. One more. 3, 2, 1. Barb, as the real estate spring market is set up, many home sellers worry about the timing, the market, and picking the right time to put their homes on the market. So, Barb Schlinker, when is the best time to go on the market?
Well, I go out there, I study the stats every week, and I look at experts that are saying, oh, the market's crashing, the sky is falling, the prices are going down. It's just not true. The truth is, it depends. It depends on how the seller approaches pricing the home properly. And it really doesn't matter what time of year you sell the home. We sell homes year round. December actually was one of my strongest months for sales. And I expected January to be quiet, but January's busy, February's busy. It's crazy right now. It's kind of fun. It's almost like summer activity. So I'm actually very optimistic about the market right now and market timing. And a lot of people think that, well, people are sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to come down. And especially those people that already have a low rate mortgage, for them to downsize or upsize, they're going to step into an interest rate that's going to be twice as much as what they might be paying right now. But that tide just turned. Now more homeowners have higher interest rates than before. So inventory is actually dropping. And what we saw last year was a lot of interesting chaos. I mean, I've been in the business since 1996. I've seen a lot of different markets and a lot of different scenarios that affect the market. I saw 9/11. I saw when Intel was coming. That created a very temporary boom and then it went away. I saw the mortgage meltdown, which was a pretty substantial thing that happened. And now we're in yet another government shutdown. Hopefully that'll end in a few days. But the last government shutdown was pretty long. It did adversely affect our market temporarily in the fall because there's a lot of government workers, there's a lot of military folks, a lot of people. Military was paid, but not the government workers, that were kind of waiting because of the uncertainty. I don't think this round, I think people are just getting used to it and kind of numb to the shenanigans that go on in Washington, D.C. But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing right now is that there is some pent up demand for buyers. So if they see a property that looks interesting to them and it's priced reasonably and they can afford it, they are making offers. I've got more pending deals right now than I've had in any given month in the last 2 years. And that is in a time when it should not be happening. December was one of my best months of last year. January was great. February is going to be spectacular. And there's more happening beyond that. The buyers are here. They're not going away, but it's really on the seller to position their home to sell. And, a lot of people there was a lot of fear. There was the 2024 election. Then there was the worry about the tariffs. There's just a lot of stuff in the press that kind of affect people's mindset, but I think that's behind us. And the rates, it's more of a yawn. It's more of the same. It's, 30-year fixed conventionals in the low threes. The government rates have dropped down into the upper fives, but you can always negotiate and or put more cash on it and actually buy down the rate so the home is very affordable. So why buyers are buying now? I think just because they're tired of waiting. Many people have been just waiting around for things to change, and it's not going to happen. Now, if the rates drop, my anticipation based on what I'm seeing in my activity right now is that probably the prices might start going back up, which the buyers don't want to see that. And I've seen the market change. Typically the market, at least it used to change slowly, it's not now. I think there's just more people kind of dialed into social media and news and the economy and things like that. And if you look back on what's happened just since 2019, we went from the meltdown where the prices dropped 25%, right? And then all of a sudden prices started going up 2018, 2019. They kept booming through the middle of 2022 until the Fed raised the rates. Then the buyers could not afford the payment, right? And so the home prices doubled during that period. Now the rates are higher, and it's difficult for some people to afford payments in that scenario. So once we see the Fed changing course, I really feel like this market's going to take off because it's a great place to live. And, every real estate market is local. So if you look at places like Florida has had a pretty significant correction. We just generally had flatness. So I don't think that it's going to change that much. If anything, if we see the rates come down, we're going to see the prices maybe start ticking back up again. So I don't think the prices are going to correct as much as some of the naysayers are out there. So should home sellers time the market? There are some agents out there saying, hurry up, get your house on the market before the crash happens, which there's not going to be a crash in my view. And I would not even worry about timing the market. Yes, if you look at the history, generally the springtime in this local area is a good time to put your home on the market because there's less inventory, yet there's a lot of military folks getting orders into and out of this area. So you see a lot more buying activity in the spring than what's normal. But real estate's very local. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. We're talking about timing the market. When's the best time to sell a home? And next up, we're going to talk really briefly about a strategy for market timing that will work best for you. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. We know how to create demand, and or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing whether or not home sellers should worry about picking the exact right time to put their home on the market. What's your opinion when it comes to market timing? Because you are an expert on marketing. They don't teach you that in real estate school.
No, you have to learn it. You have to pay attention to it. You have to study it all the time, in my view. And basically, as long as the house is prepared right, is priced right, and is promoted right, within a relatively short period of time, it's going to sell. So as far as timing is concerned, I think sellers should not even worry about it and time the market based on what works for them. And basically, what you have to plan on is, okay, I want to prepare, get my home ready for sale. It's going to be ready on this date. Then I'm going to go on the market. And then you have to fast forward, I would say at least 2 months. The average days on market's actually gone over 120 days. More recently, I've seen less numbers than that in the Pikes Peak region, but plan on some marketing time. And in general, though, if the home is priced right, it's not going to take very long to get a contract. Once you get a contract, then it's going to be closing in 30 days. So it's about a 4-month process from start to finish. And I would not be rushed or be hurried. Make the timing work for you. Yes, the springtime is a great time simply because a lot of people wait until school lets out before they put their home on the market. And by then, a lot of the military folks that are moving in and out tend to have already made a decision. But it's all about what works for you. And the best case scenario is prepare your home the way you want to prepare it to get the price that you want. And the reason I say it that way, yes, you can make the house pretty and all that, and maybe command a little bit more money. But at the end of the day, the most important factors are promoting and pricing. Those two together are really important. And we sell homes year round. We sell homes, every single month of the year. So you want to make sure that it works for you and you have a plan that doesn't stress you out too much right now. And so give us a call if you are thinking of making a move at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing simple ways to net more money when you sell your home here in Colorado. Stay tuned for Barb.
What's happening?
Oh, you know what? I was trying to keep an eye. There was something that was going on television. And I've got this monitor up there, and generally it's a distraction, right? But every now and then, because they'll have I don't even know how they determine what shows are on or whatever, but it happened to be on 11 News, KKTV, and I'm looking at this car that's driving through a park. And I thought it was just, somebody lost control of their car or something like that. And David was telling me that no, it was somebody who the kids had been taunting. The person got torqued off and decided to come around and try to drive over them.
Oh
You're
my
not
God.
supposed to do that. Just send
No.
them.
It's
Stay on the road, son.
Oh my God.
like, you know, it's a deadly weapon,
Well, and
a
it's just,
vehicle.
I guess what the point I have is, so we always have the sound down on that. And generally you can sort of tell what's going on, but I was sitting here shaking my head, and David had the part where they were actually getting chased by this guy because they had, I don't know, made, what did they do? Make fun of him or something? Or
They were throwing stuff at into traffic.
oh
So it was dangerous,
yeah,
but I mean, it's still a situation where you stop, pull over, and say, "Hey, kids,
what were they throwing?
this is
Do you know?
dangerous." They had thrown a can or something onto the
What were
road.
they throwing?
A can or something like that. Um,
Some trash is
yeah,
what they had picked up and started throwing.
and then the guy. I'll tell you what though. When I was in college, I'm going to college one day. It is snowy out, and I'm driving, and some look like a high school kid or something throws a snowball and hits my car. No damage or anything like that. It just startled me a little bit and really pissed me off.
Hmm.
So he ran down an alley. I turned down the alley and I'm driving right behind him. And, I'm seeing red and I'm pissed off and stuff. And then, yeah, I let him go and I stopped. And in a calmer moment, I thought, if this kid had just slipped for 1 minute, didn't have good traction and had slipped for just a second, I would have driven over him over a snowball. Life lesson.
Yeah.
I'm full of life lessons, Barb. I got them all over the
But
place.
you haven't made bad choices, though. That's good.
Oh my God. You know what? And I'm very serious about this. The bad choices I've made, I honestly believe I've had an angel who has been looking out for me for all of my life.
Yeah,
I should have
me
been
too.
dead my senior year in high school. I hit a dead end at 90 miles an hour.
Oh,
Should have been dead. And but you think the same thing too. I believe in angels.
yeah. I think they're there all the time. We just don't see them, you know.
Little ways and big ways. That's why, yesterday, in fact, I was driving in and I'm going down the hill and I don't even know why I thought about my driver's license, but I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I left that at home. So I looked in the car, I didn't have it, turn around and go home. And I don't know why, but when stuff like that happens, I figure, you know what? I just wasn't supposed to be going through some intersection at that exact moment. And I
Yeah.
went home and I went through the intersection 4 minutes after I would have been hit in an automobile accident or something.
Wow.
That's how I convince myself to let the
That's
little
cool.
quirks of life not drive me crazy. All right. I got section 2 here. We can start off talking about Savannah Guthrie's mom and then transition into the housing market here. I'm kidding. That's a sad story. Although I was telling David, on the one hand, I don't blame her for wanting to use her position to try to find her mom, and I don't mind other journalists and other TV people feeling the same way and stuff. There is a little side of me that just kind of feels like, well, yeah, your mom was one of 200 that went missing yesterday.
Right, exactly. She's not the only
And
missing person.
yeah, and everybody should be concerned about your mom, but they should have been concerned about the other 199 as well. I
Mm.
didn't say it on the air though. It sounded like it would be poor form to say it, but I'm still looking for her, but I don't think it's going to be a good outcome.
No. If they're calling it a crime scene already, it's not, it doesn't sound good.
And they said there was blood inside the house and stuff.
Oh,
Because at first I was thinking that, maybe it was they kidnapped her. We're going to hold her hostage for ransom or something. But usually, if that happens, they don't go public with all of it. So I don't know. I guess I say a prayer for her mom too. All right, I
yeah.
got section 2 here. You ready, Barb?
Ready?
Count us down. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, home sellers planning to put their homes on the market often ask, how do they prepare? So, what are some important tips to drive up the sales price when they sell their home here in the Colorado Springs area? Colorado Springs area.
Well, Richard, most people know if their home is updated, or not. And I would say in general, the real pretty homes, as long as they're priced right, they're going to sell pretty fast. And most home sellers actually assume their home will sell as is. But I wish the system worked that way, but it doesn't. Even after bidding wars, the buyers come back and go, okay, we'll take the house, but we want you to fix this and this and this. So some small improvements can go a long way in at least taking issues off the table. I'm not saying you have to update every home. Not every home needs to be updated, but you don't want to find out when you're in the middle of a contract and you have limited time to get repairs done that you need to negotiate for a big major repair. So that's why I always recommend to people to do that in advance, and then you're ready. The most common things I see come up, probably I would say 2 out of 3 of my listings have a roof issue. I don't know why. Well, because there's hail here. And generally, people don't check their roof if the roof isn't leaking. They're like, it's fine, might have a little ding here and there, or we never got any hail that they saw. But insurance companies are getting tougher. Buyers are struggling to get insurance. I just talked to one of my buyers recently that told me, wow, this is just a typical production, like a tract home in a normal neighborhood. And the lowest price he could find for homeowners insurance was $4,000 a year. That's pretty high. So if the roof is older, the insurance costs will go up because they're expecting it's going to happen soon. Another big ticket item would be a furnace. So furnaces, if you read inspection reports where unlicensed inspectors put them out, they will say that the useful life of a furnace is 22 years. Well, maybe, but they could last longer if they're well maintained. So you can't really deem it dead if it's 22 years old. It could last longer than that. The other thing that just happened is that they changed the building code in El Paso County that requires a special type of furnace that has to be more efficient, and that's going to add to the cost by $3,000. That just happened this year. So those kind of things are not fun to take care of, but it's good to stay ahead of it if you think the furnace is going to fail. You can throw a home warranty on it, which home warranties are nice. I mean, they cover about $22 of the cost of a furnace, which is half-ish of a furnace, depending on where you shop. Other big ticket items that are really not fun to replace are things like electrical panel, and of course, structural and sewer line. Those two things, structural, you don't see that often, but sewer lines or septic systems probably do see quite often. And you want to make sure that the sewer line is functional, it's not fractured. And the best way to do that is do a sewer scope in advance. Then because I've had so many problems with the buyer's inspector checking sewer lines. They don't know what they're doing. They're not qualified to do it. I've had them break vinyl flooring. I've had them drop the seal from the cap down the sewer line. I've had them not pull toilets without permission and not properly reseat the toilet, like not put a new ring on there and cause a leak. Everything happens. So you want to know in advance. And a lot of times the buyers will accept your pre-inspected sewer scope versus doing their own, which is always preferable. But most of the updates to get the home ready for sale are pretty quick, easy, and low cost. So you want to kind of plan ahead. I would say give it 2 to 3 months before you go on the market, if you can, to really plan ahead and get things done. Number one is declutter. So this is something you can do yourself. The easiest way to do this is just take it one room at a time. I tend to have, I get involved with, I'll start decluttering one room and then I'm moving off to the next room. And then I'm doing both at the same time and nothing gets done. So the best way to do it is just go to one room and go, okay, decluttering this one, throw it away, fix it, put it away, donate it, done. Then you move to the next one and so forth. You want to store stuff that you definitely are taking with you and just let the other stuff go. Do you know, Richard, I have, I think, 3 sets of china
Jeez. That actually does not shock me when I think of the people I know.
I inherited two sets. I had my own from when we got married, and I don't think I've used it in at least 10 or 15 years, any of it. It's just a different lifestyle now. So, yeah, that's stuff that I could probably let go of at least two of the sets. Anyway, that's one thing. Another easy tip is paint. So, a lot of buyers will pass by on a home if the home's paint is not neutral. If it's like especially the dramatic colors like pink. One of my favorite clients were big Bronco fans, and they had this huge great room, a big family room with vaulted ceilings, and they painted that whole accent wall, which was massive, Bronco orange. And it just didn't work. I said, they weren't too happy with my suggestion to paint that wall, but it sold very fast and for top dollar. So I think it paid off. So even something like paint can give you back 107% of your investment. Flooring is another one that's very, very critical. If flooring is tired, if flooring is torn, if the carpet has traffic marks in it, if the hardwood has traffic marks in it, if it's vinyl that's fractured. Vinyl is actually relatively inexpensive. You can get regular vinyl at a pretty good price. Luxury vinyl, I don't think people can really tell a difference between luxury and not luxury. That tends to be a little bit more expensive. But at the end of the day, the buyers just don't want to do any work when they move in, when they buy a house. So if you make it look fresh and move in ready, it's great. And we have some roofing companies that we can recommend that will come out and do check your roof for free. So I would recommend getting your free roof cert up front. The reason I say that is if you have to replace a roof, you're going to have to file a claim. You want the roofer to be there to kind of help minimize the deductible when the insurance adjuster comes out. And you want to be able to negotiate sometimes with the insurance company so that you don't have so much out-of-pocket cost. Insurance companies are really getting tough now on roofs. The furnace, have the furnace cleaned and serviced. That way you know what kind of shape it's in. Check the sewer line. Get a sewer scope done. It's just a few $100s. Because if you wait and go under contract and those things you get to find out about when the buyer comes back with their inspection report and says, oh, we'll take the house, but we want a new sewer line. And this is the bid we got from our sewer company. And they're expecting that at that point. But if you approach this problem head on and do it before you actually get a buyer and then share with them the clean sewer scope, the impression is, wow, this person's really taking care of their home. And we look forward to that, right? That's a good thing for a buyer. There are places where you can move the clutter to, because we don't photograph every nook and cranny. We don't photograph the inside of garages because they don't photograph that well. And then places like most closets, with the exception of the master closet, you do want to declutter the master closet as much as possible and get everything off the floor because it makes it look bigger. It makes it show better. And buyers will definitely look at the size of the master closet. Another inexpensive thing that you can update are the light fixtures. So there's some great lighting stores. Even Home Depot has some great lights. And you want to refresh those as much as possible. Gold finishes are actually coming back again. So if you haven't replaced them, don't worry about it. They're back in one more time. But I would just look at it. Is it broken? Like I helped one home seller replace their powder bath light fixture because it was broken. We couldn't match the bulbs anymore. It just didn't look good. It didn't look cared for. And it was only a few $100s to really refresh that room and make it look updated. And it sold very quickly. Same with plumbing fixtures. And basically what we do with our listings is we will send an interior designer out to take a look at your home and go room by room by room and make sure, give you a checklist on how to prepare for photo day so that you know in advance. I see too many listings on the market these days that clearly got no advance about how to photograph. There's a lot of clutter. And I'm telling you from talking to buyers, even clutter will make them pass on their house and check out some other house. So you don't want that to happen. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. I'm the host, and I'm also the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyers team. We're talking about some simple fix-ups that will give you the competitive edge and help you sell your home for the most money. And when we come back, we're going to give you a few more ideas that might update and refresh your home. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're interested in selling your home, you want to give Barb a call, 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about the simple tips that help home sellers net more money, the sales price of your Colorado Springs area home. What are some of the other home repairs that can actually yield a pretty good return on investment?
Well, some of these are surprising to me, like the color of oak for some reason has become a little bit dated, but you can refresh it. If you have hardwood floors, you can actually refinish the floors and just change the color to get away from that goldy oaky color. I've also seen people paint their oak cabinets white and put on some either oil rub bronze or some satin nickel hardware, and it really updates it at a very low cost. You can buy this gel paint at Sherwin-Williams, and it really looks great on cabinets. Another option might be if you have the oak spindles to paint them white, and do an accent color on the rail. Those little things can really make the home look more attractive. And of course, cleaning is critical. Curb appeal is critical, although this time of year it's a little tough to make the landscaping look gorgeous, but definitely refresh things like mulch beds, fix your broken doorbell, fix your broken mailbox, all those kind of things. And then one of the services that we offer is what's called a certified pre-owned home, where we will help you get ready for photos, do that pre-inspection. That way, when you go on the market, your home is ready, it's professionally staged, and it looks great. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We'll give you a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. We'll give you a really good idea what your home will sell for, go over all those closing costs so you know exactly how much you'll put in your pocket. And it's a free service. You're never obligated to sell. So give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, simply call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit Barb Has the Buyers. That's barbhasthebuyers.com. Or if you want a free report with the 27 tips to sell your home fast and for the most money, go to barbhasthebuyers.com and you can go to the free report section. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to choose the right real estate agent when you're selling your home here in Colorado. Look for people who have the initials BS, but they don't really deal in BS.
Is DJ back?
I am.
I want to create a studio that I could do this with better equipment.
Okay.
Do you want me to send you a video? Do you want to set up a time where we could do a consultation? What would work?
Usually later in the week works best.
Okay.
And I would like to lay eyes on it, so
Okay.
I know what you're working with. I just work better hands-on.
All right. Well, let's plan a time when you're available. Just swing by and show you what we're doing.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it today. I'm just.
Yeah. Today is usually my busiest day. We had meetings all morning, right after Richard, and then I have to record our public service announcement that airs every weekend on all 6 stations right after this recording. That's why I have to run across the hallway
Wow.
and and tonight there's the coaches show, and the list goes on and
Yeah.
on. You don't know anything about that, though. You're not a busy lady.
Oh, Monday. My husband was teasing me last night because one of my agents is out of town. She was asking me to do something that just seemed like a waste of time. Talk to some real estate agent. I made some comment like, that's the last thing I want to do. I got so much other stuff I need to take care of, and it
I
wasn't
actually accomplish something today.
yeah. She's very social. I'm not. I talk to them because I have to.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of that you have to do just as a person, but
Yeah, I don't mind talking to them, but I mean, I take calls from them all the time, but I wasn't going to go out of my way. I had no idea what he was trying to do, but she's out of the country. Oh yeah, Barb will call you. I'm like, not, especially not on Monday. So
we were just talking about busy schedules. You don't have one of those, do you?
Not mine is just child's play compared to Barb. I have no doubt about that. I feel overwhelmed all the time, and I feel like I run from one thing to another. And I was telling David, it's bad because as soon as I wake up in the morning, it's the worst part of my day because I wake up and I almost have, I wouldn't say anxiety or whatever, I don't know. But all of a sudden, when I start to become cognizant of what my day is going to entail, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could go back to sleep.
It's stressful. It's like, oh boy. This morning, I had a hound dog sitting on my head at 4:30. I'm like, okay, I'm getting up.
Good. I mean, not good, but I'm not the only person. I have a cat that I swear to God, I give it these treats, and it's just not patient. Could you wake up and get me a treat here? Whatever. Okay, I'm ready to go. You good, Barb?
Yep.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, and the owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people choose agents that they know, like a friend, and they don't really have a system for selecting the very best agent to handle one of the largest assets that they'll ever have in their life. So what are some ways that a home seller can determine how to choose a real estate agent to sell that valuable property, their home?
Yeah, Richard, it's interesting that the National Association of Realtors, they do surveys. So they send out surveys to buyers and sellers and ask them, what made you pick your agent or not pick your agent? And it was really interesting that the decision that was made. Sometimes it's like, well, we like them. They sold us the homes. There's no data based on their success or whether or not they could get the job done. Nothing about their sales volume, nothing about their training, nothing about their marketing. They just do it based on an emotional decision because they're a friend, right? So when we're in this kind of market where it's sort of in between sellers and a buyer's market, in my view, seller's market, the seller has an advantage. Buyer's market, the buyer has an advantage. We're kind of in the middle. I mean, most of the offers we're getting, the buyers are coming in asking for a discount, asking for the seller to pay loan closing cost. I see that in almost every price range. Or they're saying, well, I have a house to sell and it's not on the market yet, but I'm not going to put it on the market unless you reserve your house for me, which does nothing for the seller. There's no certainty in that deal. So, most agents don't have solutions or ideas, and we do. Right now, we're seeing more supply than we have in a number of years on the market, but springtime, there's not as much. So it'll probably accelerate in the summer, but right now, probably through May, the number of available homes is going to be a little bit less. Now, why would a home seller pick an experienced market? A lot of people judge agents' experience based on the number of years they have in the business. And if you look at the actual stats, and it's sad for me to say this, that more than 80% of the agents sell 3 or less homes a year. Half of them don't sell any. There's a huge turnover in real estate every 5 years. 87 to 90% of real estate agents leave the business. Many of them have another job. And there's just, it's a low threshold to become a real estate agent, but there's not a whole lot of training on how to help somebody handle one of their largest assets. And so you wouldn't believe how many complaints I hear about it. According to Zillow, 71% of agents sold zero, nada, no homes. That's most of them in 2024. And so the other thing that's happening is the market went kind of flat here, if not corrected back a few percentage points. And most agents really don't know how to handle that. They go from it's red hot, so they'll send these really dumb lowball offers and say it's a buyer's market, which it's not really. It's kind of in the middle, in my view. And it really just depends on the house and how they position the home. One of my agents in my office, she's been probably at 6 or 7 different brokerages in her career. And she was talking to somebody that's from her last brokerage that was complaining, asking her how she was doing, which Jen's doing very well. But, she was saying, yeah, last year before I was selling, 1 home a month, which is a top producer. To me, that's not enough, but that's what's considered a top producer. And she went from 12 homes a year to 3. Okay. Why does that matter? Why do home sellers care about how many homes you sell? I think there's a lot to be said about experience and whether or not they've seen that before. Let me just give you an offhanded example of inspections. So what I see on inspections every single time we get one is many of the inspectors will say, oh, carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors are more than 10 years old. Those got to be replaced. Water heaters more than 8 years old. That's got to be replaced. It was older building code to have the bathroom vent fans vent into the attic versus all the way out the roof, which might leave a little moisture in there sometimes. That was building code at the time. So they asked for that to be done. So the seller does not have to fix any grandfathered, they call them grandfathered items, but an inexperienced agent may not know that. I got into a big cat fight with an agent just a few weeks ago, and I was working with the buyer. We went in the house. I keep telling the story because it's just funny. And they have a swamp cooler. So swamp cooler introduces moisture somehow. It's got water that introduces moisture into the home and cools it down. But those things have filters on them. And if they're not properly maintained, they will have an odor. And so we went into this house and we're like, that's so weird. It smells like dirty diapers, but it was an empty home that had been staged. We went back to the house a second time because I liked the location. And it still smelled like dirty diapers. So instead of the agent taking my constructive feedback and trying to find out what it was, she threw it back on me and said, we went in there, we didn't smell it. It must be you or your buyer. You guys stink. And I'm just like, no. And in fact, if you look it up on the internet, what it says is that if the filters are not changed in a swamp cooler, it smells like dirty diapers. So I gave her that feedback. It just, I don't know. I don't know why they would get defensive about it. If I was the home seller, I'd be mortified if people were saying that about my house, right? I'd want to get all over it and find out what was going on. So what we're seeing right now is, we have kind of a light supply of homes in the springtime. Average days on market has gone up higher. It's continuing to go higher every single month, right? And the problem is the industry norm and standards wants to make the agents all the same. So what are home sellers looking for in an agent? They're looking for responsiveness, trustworthy, good reputation, strong sales history, maybe, if they ask the question. Part of a team. In other words, they have a backup, or are they a one-horse, shop? And then some of them care about, their experience in the past. But, you can find an agent to stick a home in the multiple listing service for a few $100s if that's what you wanted to do. But if it's not properly priced, if it's not properly marketed, it becomes a commodity in the sea of houses that are on the market, and that doesn't help anybody. And a lot of people, when they interview agents, basically they go with the first one they met, or they have no predetermined method of how to select an agent. So because many of them haven't been in the business very long, or there's a huge turnover, or they're not selling very much, it becomes a problem, once they go on the market. Here's an example. Right now, I looked at the statistics this morning, and it was showing me that 1 out of 5 homes on the market every month are selling. That's not very good. That's 20%. Why is that happening? It's happening because whoever they're getting their pricing advice from, either Zillow, which Zillow bases it on the homes that have not sold. That's what AI said, is Zillow's algorithm is solely based on homes that haven't sold, that's why they lost $500 million trying to get into the real estate market and buy and sell them. But the other criteria would be, oh, look at this home that sold back here 2 years ago, and therefore my home should sell for that amount. So a lot of people don't really study the market. A lot of agents don't study the market. And even if the seller is unrealistic in their price, they're going to take it anyway. Oh, sure, I can get you $1 million. And then they put it on the market. There's very few showings. There's very little activity. They get frustrated, obviously, because they're not getting the truth. And these agents are just trying to make other agents the bad guy, to have the feedback say it's overpriced, it's overpriced, it's overpriced. The market is going to tell you right away if you got it wrong, based on the volume of showings, based on the volume of phone calls. It's going to happen right away. And it's a process. Not everybody does it very often. And a whole lot of agents don't do it with volume. So, our process is very systemized, and I'm happy to share it with you. Or you could go on my website, Barb Has the Buyers. We also have a really cool free report that you can order called the Free Agent Selection Guide. Go on Barb Has the Buyers and click on free reports. You'll get the 9 different selection factors and the common mistakes when somebody selects an agent. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking about the why do I need a well-qualified real estate agent when selling my home, because it's one of the most valuable things you'll have in life. Barb, what are some other reasons people selling their homes need to choose a great agent?
Well, it's sad for me to say that the average agent really does not spend a lot of money on marketing. So they don't have a lot of sales, so they don't have the money to spend on marketing. I can't even convince agents, even though I put it in my feedback, especially on occupied homes. I don't expect them to leave a business card on a vacant home. That's fine. They don't have to do that. Yes, I have an electronic record of it. However, if it's an occupied home and the seller knows you were in the home and you didn't leave a card, how do they know you were there? And some of the agents are like, well, we'll use the digital lock boxes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. The digital lock boxes will tell the seller that came and went and how long they were there. However, it doesn't leave the business card. And there are a lot of agents that come down or up from other areas that don't have access to the electronic boxes. And it's a real estate emergency for them to have to download an app, get their 1-day code at the appropriate time when they're running around with buyers trying to get in the system. So it's not a great system in my view. I don't care for it personally. Some people like it, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, it does cost money to get photos done. They're not free, they're very expensive. The other thing that has to happen is, how do they look, right? Have they been modified, like virtual staging as an example? That's one example that can really make a home look fabulous, because there's a certain segment of the population that if you look at an empty room, you can't figure out what to do with it. I'm one of those. I don't have an artistic mind in my head. I just don't. I like what I see, but if I look at an empty room, I would have no idea how to do it. And buyers buy on emotion. So you have to really make that impression to attract the buyer. I was looking at a home this morning that had been on the market 147 days. And the very first picture, the outside front picture, was terrible, but it was also clearly done with an iPhone because it's very skinny and vertical. The agent didn't spend the money to really get the marketing right. And the home was also overpriced. So it's just sitting there month after month, not moving. That's a mistake. And we know how to solve all these problems. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. You wouldn't believe how important it is to make that first impression when they're looking at homes on the internet. If you are thinking of moving, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You know what? I lost my place. Hang on one second here.
We're at the end.
Yeah, I got it. You know what? I got my pages. I had marked up the next segment. I got my pages out of order here. I do that all the time. I should just turn them upside down, and I wouldn't. We'll go here. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Or if you want a free fast report, 27 tips to sell your home fast and for the most money, go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Go up to the free report section. You'll find it there. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the market and has it transitioned in terms of the selling process? Barb will have the demystification of that, plus her hot new listings. Did that even make sense? Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to grab another Red Bull here real quickly. I am running out of energy. I swear to God, I gave these things up, but here I am. Right? You heard me give them up, right?
When? Yeah, he's back on the sauce. He keeps trying to give up on Red Bulls and switch over to coffee, and he'll do that for a couple days, and then he won't feel the jolt that he gets from Red Bull, so
I've never tried it. I don't think I want to.
I did it in my late 20s, and I actually um, had to wean myself off of Mountain Dew. That was my
Yeah.
main addiction.
I've talked to people that were dental hygienists that said they were just so addicted to Mountain Dew and it just rotted out their teeth. This stuff is so strong.
Yeah, I'd have to brush my teeth like 3 or 4 times a day.
Wow.
Who is that guy who sits out there who's always at that little table facing the wall?
Huh?
He was in the sales meeting today. There's a guy who sits
That's Chris Hoffman.
and what is
He's actually the program director for Peak,
Okay.
and he runs 4 other markets for AC
Okay.
music format.
That would then I now understand why he knows John Lane and stuff. I was kind of confused.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was
he
supposed to
also
know him or say hi to him or introduce myself, but it doesn't sound like it.
he's he runs Albuquerque and Salt Lake City and Colorado Springs.
Where's he
and
centered out of?
He actually lives in Denver.
Oh,
So.
there you go. All right. Okay, here we go, Barb. I'm good.
Okay.
You know what? Can I just tell you something so that you're ahead of the curve?
Sure.
Because I think it's interesting. I'm probably talk about it tomorrow. Authorities raided a northeast Las Vegas home on Saturday, discovering centrifuges, biosafety hoods, and over 1,000 samples of unknown liquids in what looks like an illegal biolab. The property belongs to Cheng Aizu, a Chinese national already in federal custody for running a similar unlicensed lab in California, where inspectors once found vials labeled with pathogens like Ebola. Hazmat teams use drones and robots to safely collect everything with no public threat declared by Monday, though tests continue on the materials. The case echoes past biosecurity worries and has lawmakers pushing for stricter rules on private lab. What the hell did you think when you let all of these Chinese? You didn't even know who you're letting into the country.
Can
Yeah.
you imagine trying to sell that property?
Well-dressed
in the
ones.
future?
Oh, that's true. If you thought
You'd have to
selling
rip
a
out
meth
all the
house
walls.
was a problem, only Barb
Yeah,
Schlinker
yeah.
sold a bio lab property after they.
Gonna be worse than meth.
We had Ebola in the basement, but
Yeah.
everything's okay now.
Right.
We
They
talk
would say,
about
well,
next week on,
you don't have to disclose it.
You can't sell. Well, that bio lab probably. I'm sorry, I talked over you, Barb.
My goodness.
I am aghast. And part of the reason is I mentioned that to you is because I want to see between now and tomorrow whether that story is even like a major news story or whether it's not. Because wouldn't you think that that should be leading almost every newscast? Front
Yeah, it
page
should be
paper
huge.
stuff? Jeez. Okay. All right. I get myself all worked up here. Yeah. Las Vegas flu.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Three, three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, as we transition from a stalled market, a market last fall, to a more active spring selling season, how does our audience find out what they can expect with the home selling process this time of year? Barb Schlinker.
Well, Richard, it's kind of interesting because the National Association of Realtors industry norm is standard is you go and you sign an agreement, and then within 24 hours, it needs to be entered into the multiple listing service for all the agents to copy onto their website so they can bring their buyers to it. So that's the system. That's the process. Did you know we're not even allowed to have a picture of our yard sign in the yard so that they could grab our listing and share it somewhere else? So it's kind of all of the rules are kind of broken and they don't make the homes special. There has to be something special about a home to attract people. And here's what's really weird. And the thing that was very weird to me when I first started in real estate is that there was no system. You know, I was in the Navy, pretty much every job had a how-to, or at least on the job training, and it had checklists and it had rules and it had standard operating procedures and it had what you said and what you did to get that job done. I didn't find that in real estate. I found zero training. I did go to training meetings every week or as often as I could. And mostly the broker was talking about things that would keep them out of trouble, like, oh, you made a mistake, you know, that kind of stuff in the contract, but not things like how to market, how to provide great customer service, how to have a checklist, how to have a plan on how you're going to attack helping people either buy or sell one of their largest assets, right? So that was very surprising. There's not even a job description. It's fascinating to me that still to this day, fast forward 30 years later, everybody kind of does their own thing. They copy each other. And then I get a big kick out of how a lot of agents representing buyers don't even want to track the handful of deadlines from the time you get a contract accepted to closing. They abdicate this task to some, they call them transaction coordinators, which there's definitely not a definition for that role. What are they supposed to be doing? I don't know, not exactly, but they'll send me an email going, I'm the TC and you need to copy me on everything. And so what happens is if an I doesn't get dotted or a T doesn't get crossed, or they need something, they become the person that bothers me. Like I am their admin assistant all of a sudden. And we already have, software that provides all the documents that are essentially needed. We just share it with them. So I just tell them, you look into their contract software and don't bother me because you work for that buyer's agent. You're not working for me. In fact, you're causing trouble for me. And I've had them miss deadlines, really important deadlines. I've had them forget to schedule the inspection, and all of a sudden it's a real estate emergency at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you. I've had them not tell me that they had an inspection and just go to the house without notice. So, it's fascinating to me that there's no job description. There's very few rules. It's still kind of the Wild West, right? But the National Association wants us all to be the same. They want us all to be very generic and stay within the lines. And I'm not wired that way. I try, but I'm just really not. What the sellers want, though, is they want to be somebody that sells their home for the most money. They want to understand the process, and they don't want to be surprised at any step of the way. That's the best thing that you can do, right? And so most sellers want the most money, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they just want, the process to go, and they want a fair price, and they want it to be done. But the number one question I do get from home sellers is, what do they need to do and not do to get their house ready for sale? So we can help them. We can give them advice that would give them the best return on investment. The buyers want basically the easy button. Unless the home is way under price, they want everything fixed. I get the strangest feedback. Well, I didn't like the popcorn ceiling in that one bedroom, and they're moving on, that kind of thing. And so a lot of agents think it's the buyer's market and the sky is falling and they can really ask for low prices and lots of concessions, but it depends. There still are bidding wars. I've had probably in the last 5 weeks, I think I've had 5 or 6 bidding wars just on my listings. So if the home is priced right, there's going to be more than one buyer that wants it. And so now more than ever, home sellers really need to work on positioning their home to be the most desirable home because there is more competition. So you need to hire an agent that really knows how to help you get ready for sale, knows how to properly give you advice to price it right, as well as prepare it right. I had one listing a few years back that was an inherited home. It was definitely a 1980s time warp. It had the pink mauve carpet, lots of pink decorations, all white appliances, tile counters in the kitchen, which is not so appealing for some buyers. And it was a higher price point because of the size of the home, and it was on acreage. It was up in Monument, where they could just go down the street a half mile and have a beautiful new custom home on acreage with trees that had all the bells and whistles. So their question to me was, do I need to remodel the kitchen? And my answer was no, I wouldn't do that. I would fix the broken stuff. I would replace the pink carpet only because it was, worn and torn and not pretty anymore. Just fix the broken stuff. They also in the bathrooms, they had attached baths upstairs. Each bathroom had this seashell shaped sink that was also painted pink. So we brought in a company that would come in and just spray this polyurethane product on there, and it turned white. And I had them price it right, because that's probably the most critical data point when you're selling a home. So we priced the home what I call very realistically versus optimistically. We had 83 people. This is after the boom, 83 people at the open house, and we got 6 offers, and it sold for, I think it was 75,000 over asking price. So these are the key rooms you really need to focus on to get ready. Curb appeal, make sure it's harder in the winter, but just, if anything, fix the doorbell, make the front door look fresh, fix the mailbox, put in mulch in the mulch beds, followed by the backyard, the view, very, very critical. Same thing there. Then the living room, then the kitchen, then the master bathroom, then the master bedroom, in that order. Those rooms have to be a wow to get them in the door. And you want to hire an agent that really has some recent market experience. It's a big mistake to overprice in this market. It actually will cost you more money, according to the National Association of Realtors. And then you want to decide on your pricing strategy. Not everybody is going to go for the HGTV look. They might sell the home as is and not do any updates. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you price it that way. We had one home last year that it was, it had older paint, it had older carpet. They were very heavy smokers. I knew once, the buyers got in the house, they'd be able to smell the smoke, and that was an issue. But they priced it very realistically. We had 70 people at that open house. It still sold for full price, okay, because it was priced right. But had they overpriced it right at market value, the buyers would have just slowly picked it apart. And when they do that, and you get showing after showing, and they slowly pick it apart, slowly walk the price down, that is the recipe for netting less money. So if you are planning on making a move, one of the things we have is a report on the top tips to sell your home fast and for top dollar. You can go to barbhasthebuyers.com and download that report for free. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And if you are thinking of making a move, we'd love to be one of the ones to discuss the sale with you and give you tips on what to do on how to get ready for sale. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the typical process things, just to demystify the sale and what will happen from the time you go on the market to closing. And I look forward to helping you when the time is right. Richard?
We're here talking with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty on Your Real Estate Voice. That's the name of the program. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. So, Barb, you've prepared a checklist to help people prepare their homes for sale. Is it simply how good a house does or doesn't look?
Yeah, we have a whole checklist, and there's 8 key things: pricing it realistically versus optimistically, picking the right agent, making sure it's properly presented, making sure it's marketed in all the places where it needs to be, and then preparing the home, followed by really checking the pictures to make sure they're right, making sure that some buyers are going to turn away homes if they're not promoted right or if they're not presented right. We told the story about the house that had that odor because of the swamp cooler. We also will give you a checklist on how to prepare for your inspection, how to prepare for your appraisal, how to prepare for closing. And some agents are negotiating right into the end. They'll go, well, I don't like the way you did that repair, and I'm not closing if you didn't do the repair according to what I think should be done. So you need somebody to back up you and your seller and the contractor when crazy stuff like that happens. But anyway, we know exactly how to manage the sales process and help you with that market knowledge and experience to make sure you have a smooth on-time closing. So if you are thinking of making a move, we can give you that checklist for free. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So, Barb, a favorite portion of the program for you, me, and the listeners, hot new listings this week. Tell us about it.
I do. I always love these. So I've got I've got one on 35 acres out in Yoder, priced at $179. Beautiful location on Autumn Heights Drive down by the Broadmoor at $274.9. A great home on 2436 North Mead at $325. We have a home that's owned by the VA. Great fixer-upper, actually, 701 North El Paso, priced at just $300,000. Beautiful ranch on Solar Face Court, under $400,000. And then a couple of great properties. We just put one on the market at 7518 Vincent Drive that has stunning views, lots of remodeling, priced at $99.9. A great home up in Florissant at $400,000 on Stephen Drive. A beautiful 2-story with a 3-car garage on Mineral Belt, and then a stunning ranch out on Judge Orr Road with an auxiliary living unit that's almost 3,000 square feet, 2 barns, great views, spaces for at least 11 cars, and an RV garage. So if you're interested in any of these properties, we have one on Hidden Valley. Here's the one on Vincent that's just spectacular with beautiful updates. And then we have a very low price condo in the southwest part of town at just $50,000. So give me a call, or you can go to Barb Has the Buyers, click on featured properties to see all of our homes. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday morning. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or you can listen to the podcast on all of the popular platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many, many others. Thanks for listening this week. Reach out to Barb. That number is 719-301-3900. Thank you for listening. Barb, you have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.